Okay, so you need to have a court case.
No, I didn't say that either. There would have to be some degree of
Well, you keep telling me what you're not saying, but why don't you just say what you're saying? How do you establish...
No, you got to calm down.
Oh, you guys are in for a treat today. This epic showdown between Tim Pool and Sam Seder just exposed everything wrong with the woke pro-abortion stance. Sam Seder stumbles, contradicts himself, and gets completely obliterated by Tim Pool's logical precision. This isn't just a debate, it's a total annihilation. Seder tries his usual word salad gymnastics to justify abortion without limits, and Tim Pool tears through it with facts and reason. Let's immediately jump in and watch as Tim Pool absolutely obliterates woke Sam Seder.
I do want to talk to you about abortion. You want to do
Sure.
10 minutes? We can talk about
Sure.
abortion. What are your thoughts on where we're currently at? Like, what do you think we should be doing?
What do I think we should be doing? Well, we should at the very least be reestablishing Roe v. Wade statutorily.
I think the Supreme Court was wrong, and I believe that the 14th Amendment requires that the federal government make a ruling specifically on the issue of abortion. What that becomes, I don't know, but the concept of personhood needs to be ruled on one way or the other. So this is not a state issue. Trump is wrong about that.
But the personhood should no. I don't believe in personhood in the womb.
Right. So you think the Supreme Court should say no personhood in the womb?
Definitely.
I think the Supreme Court needs to answer one way or the other.
Well, I mean, it would put some things to rest. I don't think they're going to do that. I mean,
Trump is saying it should be a state's issue, and I believe that is absolutely incorrect.
No, I think we had an individual right that existed in this country for 50 years, and it was rolled back. We've never had anything like that whatsoever. I think it's a right that when taken away, deprives people who have babies their sovereignty over their own body, and it's both an economic issue and a personal liberty issue.
What do you think there should be restrictions
on abortion?
Yeah.
I mean, the problem with restrictions, like for instance, we say only in the case of, let's say, a danger to a woman, or a woman's life, is that is extremely difficult to assess where that line is. And we've seen this. 2 women have died at least in Texas as a function of the abortion ban that they have there. We also know that infant mortality in the wake of the Texas thing, because there's been studies on this, increased 15% in the wake of the abortion ban there. So in general, I would say that restrictions are in practice not viable, not doable, because you end up costing women their lives. I think that to the extent that I would have restrictions, I think you need a medical provider to provide abortions, that go past the maybe midway through the second trimester.
Do you think that with elective abortion should be available up to 9 months?
If it is I think that is the safest route for women if it is done by a medical provider. Yeah.
Elective. I asked elective, to be clear.
Elective.
Meaning no reason given, no medical issues, just a woman saying, you know what,
I've carried this baby for 8.5 months and I've changed my mind.
Well, it's a little crass way of putting it. I think some women are going through some serious crises in their lives, and they may make a decision that's a bit more than just they've changed their mind. Like, for instance, where a woman is being battered by her husband, and then she realizes at month 6 that if she has this kid, he's going to continue to beat and harm the child, and she can't stay with him or something.
Well, I think, I'm not going to assess people's reasons for having an abortion. It's not really my business. But I think that having restrictions ends up costing women's lives. And so I would, on balance, not have restrictions outside of, obviously, particularly as you get further into the pregnancy, requirements about medical, certified medical providers.
So let's say you have a scenario where a woman goes to a Planned Parenthood, 6 months pregnant, and she just says, I don't want to explain it. I just would like to get an abortion. Is that she should be allowed? There should be just medical professionals who say, we're going to do it. We're not going to ask you why.
I think I think it's okay to explore it and get a sense, as you would for any type of like medical procedure.
What does that mean? Like,
I think that there's an obligation within the context of like ethical practice of medicine to
not just terminate a baby at 6 months without reason?
Well, no, I'm not saying that they should adjudicate this, but I don't think that like necessarily medical providers are going to be just like, hop up here, we'll just do this right now. I mean, I think there are procedures in which they do it, but essentially as long as it's like sort of like, they're following, medical procedures, like I don't think that somebody can, walk in here at 6 months and say to you, like, can you get rid of my baby? And you're allowed to do it.
No, but like, I'm just asking, like, should there be a time limit, like 16 weeks?
I think that is that endangers women too much. So the answer is no. I don't believe so.
So, but that would create a circumstance, be it as rare as it may be, but where there's like an 8-month abortion.
It's conceivable.
Did Sam Seder just say what I think he said? Yeah, he basically admitted that an 8-month-old baby could be aborted for no reason. Like, what planet is this guy on? Tim Pool is just sitting there like, dude, do you even hear yourself? And instead of backing down, Seder keeps tap dancing around the question like it's an Olympic sport.
Abortion.
It's conceivable. I mean, certainly in the 8th or 9th month. I mean, here's the thing: in the 8th or 9th month, you can you may find that the child is going to not be viable.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about elective. Like I'm specifically trying to ask about that.
But here's the danger, though. Like, and this is what I'm talking about. Why you have women who have died in Texas, and there's probably a lot more that we're not aware of, is that imposing these restrictions is not like there's no like bulb that shows up when you say this child is 100% not viable, or that your life is 100% not threatened. Like, where's the threshold? Is it at 20%? If the woman's life is in jeopardy, it's 20%. And this is, a vague, a doctor doesn't have like some meter that they put on the, the woman and say, oh, okay, your life is at 20%. No, these are vague determinations. And when you impose these type of restrictions on, what invariably happens is women die, because in real life, not hypothetical world, in real life, the doctors are afraid of crossing a threshold where they could get imprisoned, or they could lose their license, or, conceivably the woman might too. And so I leave it up to a doctor and the patient. I don't know what constitutes even elective. Like, is it elective if there's a 20% chance I'm going to die?
No.
That's not elective.
It's not elective.
What about 5%?
That's not elective.
What about 1%?
Not elective.
Okay. We know that
elective is usually used to describe
0.5%.
I've decided I don't want the baby anymore.
Because we know that, there's always a danger of a woman dying in childbirth, and it's above 0. So we're
come on.
No,
we're trying to be reasonable, right? We want to solve the problem. We don't want to just say,
what's the problem?
There are conservatives who believe that if the baby is, well, for many, I don't even believe in IVF, because even a fertilized, embryo is life.
What's the problem? I understand that there are religious people who don't like what I do, but what's the problem?
The death of a baby.
Well, I would contend that we're talking about the death of a fetus. And
so the issue is whether someone determines personhood or not is a legal constitutional question that needs to be answered. For instance, in Civil War era, they didn't think black people were humans who had civil rights, and that's clearly the psychotic way to view the world. But you holding the view that an unborn child is or is not an individual who holds a view, whether they are or not, is an unanswered question at the Supreme Court level that I believe sooner or later will be answered. And they may make a determination that the unborn are persons who are.
What do you think?
Man, that's tough. I tend to be traditionally pro-choice. I think that when you have...
do you think there should be restrictions on abortion?
100%.
What should those restrictions be?
Time limit for sure, but I don't know. I'm not smart enough to give you a certain amount of time.
But here's the problem, is that when in practice, that time limit ends up killing women.
Well, you've got a dying baby or a dying woman, and we're trying to figure out how to save them both.
Well, I mean,
Restrictions are if the baby can survive, why kill it?
So you're saying viability.
So viability is huge, and medical technology is rapidly expanding that. But there's still a lot of questions in how we handle it. So my position is that the government can't mandate one person provide their body to another person. However, if a person provides consent in the initial phase, now they have an obligation for a certain time period. So
if you have sex and you get pregnant, you are obligated to carry that baby to term. Is that what you're saying?
I think that I'd be in favor of abortion up to a certain point.
Well, but I don't understand what the logic is there.
Logic is compromise.
Oh, so this is just a question of splitting the baby in half, literally.
Not literally splitting the baby in half. It is, can the government tell someone you must provide your body and blood to another person?
And you say they can
So the
up
questions-
to a certain point.
The questions of consent play a role in whether you allow someone and then have an obligation to them based on the requirement. So, for instance, like rape, I 100% exception. Health of the mother,
Okay.
100%
So
exception.
let's take rape.
Yeah. The woman can choose.
Okay. What establishes rape?
When a person does not consent.
Okay. How rape is a criminal term, right?
Yes, indeed.
So you need to go through the court case.
Perhaps.
Well, I mean, perhaps.
Well,
Like, can I come in and say I was raped and that's it? All I need to do is say I was raped.
nope.
Okay. So you need to have a court case.
No, I didn't say that either. There would have to be some degree of
Well, you keep
adjudication.
telling me what you're not saying, but why don't you just say what you're saying? How do you
No,
establish?
you got to calm down.
No, well, how do you establish what if rape has taken place or not?
That's Tim Pool exposing Sam Seder's entire game. Seder is dodging, stalling, backpedaling, and refusing to take a clear stance. And Tim Pool calls him out on it straight up. Like, why is it so hard for Seder to just answer a basic question? Tim keeps pressing him. How do you define rape in this context? Do you need a court case? What's the standard? And Seder's response, pure word vomit. So, I mean, yeah, this wasn't even a fair fight. Tim Pool walked in with facts, logic, and common sense. Sam Seder, he walked in with woke nonsense, mental gymnastics, and no clear answers. And let's just put this on record. Seder is actually defending abortion at 9 months. That's not a nuanced stance. That's horrifying. This debate should have been titled, Tim Pool Destroys Sam Seder with Basic Logic. Because that's exactly what happened. Tim Pool W for the history books.